All right, guys, so we will talk later on in the podcast about my hopes and predictions for Daredevil Born Again Season 1, which is coming out next week. So excited for that. But before we get to that, Brad Winterbaum, who has been making a lot of comments recently as he is promoting Daredevil Born Again Season 1, has been revealing a lot about the future of the MCU and the future of MCU television. And he gave an interesting nugget here about Season 2, but not just Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, but Seasons 3 and, to quote him, Season Infinity. Really, as long as this series can go on. I have some thoughts. It's not a very long quote, so we'll talk about it. But I have some thoughts, both good and bad. And as is usually the case, I like to look at things critically with a middle ground kind of lens. So let's take a look at this quote from Brad Winterbaum, the head of Marvel's television and streaming division. So this is what he has to say. Quote, "That is the plan. Season 2 will come out next year, being 2026. Quote, then hopefully Season 3 and Season Infinity after that. I think this would be extremely rich, and there are many stories to be told on the streets of New York." End quote. Okay, there is a surprising amount to dive into here. So first of all, let's take this, chunk by chunk. First chunk, that is the plan. Season 2 will come out next year. That's amazing. Daredevil Born Again is filming again right now. I think very soon actually, and they're going to be releasing in a year. Who knows if it's exactly a year, March 2026, or if it's maybe like October 2026. But still, a year and a half between seasons, that's really good for television these days. Not just MCU television, but just television these days. And they've talked about the fact, and we'll talk about this in just a second, about how they want to move towards more episodic television, or serialized television, in the sense of you want seasons pretty much every single year, and you want them to continue on in perpetuity for as long as they are viable. So that is alluding to the next part of the quote where he says, then hopefully Season 3 and Season Infinity after that. And I think he says, I think the world is extremely rich and there are many stories to be told on the streets of New York. But here is maybe my one hesitation with this going forward. Because look, I think it's fair to say that the MCU on Disney Plus and television has been, for whatever you want to say about the movies themselves, the television shows I think have been even more hit or miss, right? Love WandaVision, really like Hawkeye, like Miss Marvel, like Loki Season 2, liked Agatha, but the rest is middling to not great, right? For me at least, personally, that's my personal opinion. And, I think we're all looking forward to Daredevil Born Again, very much. I am very much looking forward to Daredevil Born Again, because it looks like they really did a retooling here and went back to the drawing board and took the right lessons away from it. I'm really hoping. Again, we'll talk about in a later segment my hopes and predictions for the upcoming season. So we'll see. We will see how it delivers. But this is perhaps my worry, because the MCU is operating in a shared cinematic universe, right? So again, I'm all for more seasons of television coming quicker, right? If you enjoy a series, you want another one. Like Penguin Season 2. Would be great to get it this year. It's not happening. It's probably not going to happen for a long time, right? Another series like Andor, it would have been great if we got Andor Season 2 a year later. It's not going to happen. It's going to come in between 3 years later, right? And I think that it's great to get seasons of television sooner, because that's just how television used to be. And it's going to keep the momentum going for as long as the seasons are viable. However, in the MCU, I wonder how they're going to weave together these interconnected stories if you are pumping out these seasons of television every single year. Because what that eventually means is that you'll have many, many shows coming out every single year. Like, if that's the plan, then sure, Daredevil Born Again will run maybe for the next 3 or 4 years. But then you want to do Hawkeye seasons for the next 3 or 4 years. Then you want to do, new television shows maybe. Or maybe you want to do, Miss Marvel television shows for the next 3 or 4 years. And then you want to do, what else has come out? She-Hulk seasons for the next 3 or 4 years, and Moon Knight seasons for the next 3 or 4 years, and Werewolf by Night. So I wonder at what point they're going to shut it down, or at what point they're going to do new characters, or it's an interesting thing to think about the balance there, and not just the balance of what characters are going to be showing up, but also how they're going to interconnect the story of the MCU, because sure, you can self-isolate these stories for so long, but if you want to do stuff in Daredevil Born Again that really impacts the city of New York, and you want to do seasons of Daredevil Born Again every single year, but you also want to release a Spider-Man film that takes place in New York, how, when you're already struggling with the continuity so much, because let's face it, Marvel continuity is crazy right now. For example, Secret Invasion to the Marvels, right? Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury was not even acknowledged to be the same character. It's two completely different versions of that same character, but Marvel doesn't really seem to mind right now. And so I just wonder how they're going to be able to handle the continuity between all the shows and movies. It's all the unfortunate thing is that it's all trial and error, right? Nobody's really explored this world of streaming and movies in the same cinematic universe. DC is also probably going to go through its own lessons learned and mistakes made and things like that before they get to a model that works. And by that point, maybe the whole television model upends itself again. So we'll have to see about that. But the good news out of this segment is that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is coming out next year. Guys, what do you think about this news? And do you think that this model is sustainable to have seasons of Daredevil Born Again and other MCU television shows come out every single year? Let me know in the comments down below.